Now you saw how easy it was to balance the spring and the string tension, even though I just changed the springs to the heavy springs. It was pretty easy, just a couple turns on one screw. I'm going to change the string gauge, and I'm also going to change the tuning. I'm going to change the tuning on this guitar to where it is the lower strings of a 7-string guitar. And I'm going to take off the string lock, and I'm going to leave these fine tuners out so that you can see just how easy it is to deal with Kahler. We could lock this thing off like I did before, take the bar out, all that other kind of stuff. But I think what we're going to do instead is lock it down in the very beginning. Now, what I'm going to do is loosen up these strings. Now I'm just going to release them from the locking tuners. They may not pull right through there. Some of the thicker strings might have a little bit of an issue. Oh, hey, nice. I don't know if any of you older Gen X guys like me can relate, but the fact that I am taking off these strings and throwing them in the garbage without really having barely played them at all kind of breaks my heart a little bit, because I used to play these things until they were freaking black when I was a kid. As I had said before, with the Kahler here, we don't actually need the fine tuners down here, and we don't actually need the string lock as long as we have two things: locking tuners and a graphite nut that's going to self-lubricate so that strings don't get bound up. Because of that, we're going to take this thing off. Now, I just want to show you real quick with this thing that what I actually used was one of our flat riser plates for the behind the string lock, and then this curved one right here. And that's because we're compensating for the curve in this Fender Strat. It's time to put these heavier strings on. Something that may or may not be a problem, I don't know, is going to be whether or not these locking tuners right here have a big enough hole to accommodate these larger string gauge sizes. I don't know if they will or not. Let's find out. Oh, just barely. But that's the thickest one, so we'll be okay. All of the strings are in the rollers. All the balls are in the hooks. It was just fine and dandy. Now, this heaviest string was a 56. And if it was any heavier than a 56, I would probably change the string hook and the roller to the next size up. But because it fit, and also because this is only temporary, I'm just going to leave it. Another thing I would probably do is up here, I would get out the nut files and accommodate for the wider strings. But as I said before, this thing is going right back to 9 to 42. And as such, I don't want to get out any kind of nut files and change these slots, because we're giving this guitar away. And whoever it is that winds up with the guitar is probably going to want to keep it 9s or 10s, I would think. I'm just going to take the bar out now because it's time to stretch these strings into next week. There's absolutely no reason for you guys to watch this if you've watched the initial setup video. And if you haven't, you should, because this is not a setup video. This is how versatile this bridge is video. To know how to set this up, you need to go watch the how to set up the 2300 video. So we'll come back as soon as I have finished stretching these strings. While we're stretched and everything, let's see how our intonation is. Okay, so the B is a little off, but you know what? I can live with that because as I said before, it's going to go right back. The next thing we're going to do is check and see what the neck looks like if the truss rod needs any adjusting. That looks pretty good to me. There's a little itty bitty bit of a gap. There's a little bit more relief than I would typically like, but as I said before, putting it right back, so what the heck. But if I were to dial this in for myself and my playing style, I'd make that a little straighter. This, though, is going to be the tricky thing. Remember, I like it to be right there on that 0.07. So we're going to see how close that is. Okay, that's high. That's high. You know what? They're all high. But as we already know, these are our riser screws right here. These ones that are the closest to the roller. So what I'm going to do is just adjust all these down to where it is that 0.07. Now it's all where it needs to be, so I'll make sure that we're still in tune and then check the intonation. Okay, so now it's set up the way I want it to be. The intonation's pretty good. The only thing that I really do not like is that those rollers are too low. Were this something that was going to be permanent, I would shim the neck and that would fix it. But I don't feel like doing that because, once again, I'm going to undo this the second this video is over. So now let's put this heavy bar back in. Now I would expect for this to have a little too much tension on the load lever right now. We're going to release it. I'm going to control the bar right here. We're going to see what happens. Yeah, it came up a little bit, just a little bit. So let's get a look and see what we got. Okay, the big test to see if this is sitting right is if this will just screw right in without moving the bridge at all. Yep, didn't move it at all. So it's sitting in the right spot, and we're just going to make sure that everything's real good in tune. Okay, so what we have now is a baritone guitar from low B to a high B, intonated, everything's good, no string lock because we got the locking tuners, and because we're using locking tuners, we can just leave the fine tuners out. And that's just to show you the versatility of this bridge. Now, I'm going to put it back like I said, but whoever we do wind up giving this guitar to, they can turn it into a baritone guitar. Hell, they can go even lower. They can do whatever they want. But the point is, heavy springs, easy to change. Heavy bar, it'll feel a lot more like a traditional fulcrum. So that's it. It's a pretty easy thing to do. A lot easier than a fulcrum. Any fulcrum, even the ones we make. Now, you can always email me at eddie@kahlerusa.com if you get stuck, and I'll do my best to help you out. So that's it until next time. I've been Eddie for Kahler. If you have anything you'd like to know about this setup or something else that you'd like to see, let me know in the comments.